a story of how we pivoted from a struggling sideways startup to a successful, now venture-backed startup with a pivot that actually only took us 3 days. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's how. To give you some context, the first version of Yipit actually took us 9 months to build. The second version of Yipit, after we had learned a little bit about lean startup, took us 3 months to build. And this third version, the version that actually got us a bunch of users, got us customers, was only 3 days. Now, this is the second version of Yipit, and what we were doing here is in New York City only, we were sort of aggregating happy hours and sample sales, and it wasn't actually going very well. We had accumulated about 2,000 users over an 8-month period, and we decided we needed to start thinking about a pivot. Now, at the same time, Groupon, Buy Weekly Living Social started doing really well, and we noticed that there were about 20 daily deal sites doing this. And that's when we started thinking about, maybe we should just focus on aggregating these specific daily deals for users instead of the happy hours and the sample sales. And that was based on a ton of learning that we had done over the last 6 months. The first being, our deals sucked. Remember my friend telling me, I don't need you to tell me about happy hours. Every bar has a happy hour at 5 o'clock. Why are you telling me happy hours? On the other hand, people seem to love these daily deals. Second thing our friends told us is our business model sucked. Every time they said, how are you ever going to get a bar to pay you for showing happy hours? You know what has a good business model? Groupon has a good business model. They collect real money, and then from our perspective as an aggregator, maybe we can collect an affiliate fee. Third thing they told us, we couldn't scale. We were just in New York City. It was taking way too much time for us to think about another city. By focusing on just daily deals, we'd be able to scale to a bunch of different cities. The fourth thing our friends told us that was terrible is that the press actually refused to write about Yipit. They hated Yipit. It was boring. No one wanted to write about us. On the other hand, the press could not shut up about daily deals that were on. Magazines everywhere. Obviously, we needed to start. If we wanted the press to write about us, we needed to get involved with daily deals. Here's the problem. This was going to be our third version of Yipit. We had done 5 different projects. My co-founder and I, Jim, were so frustrated with our experience. We said, you know what? If we're going to do this, we're going to do it extremely quickly. We refused to spend more than 3 days building this. So we thought about, what do we need to build? We need to build a site to collect and send emails. That's actually a pretty easy part. It's very easy for us to code it up. We were done in a day. We had this ready to go. People can sign up, tell us their preferences, and then we can send them emails. So I think we're pretty excited about that. The second part is, maybe we needed to go to these daily deal sites and ask them for permission, whether they would do that. Well, what we realized, it probably takes about 4 months to convince anyone to actually meet with us. And it was very unlikely that they would actually say, sure, go ahead, aggregate our deals. So what we did is, instead of asking for permission, we believed that we were going to ask for forgiveness. The last part was actually sort of really hard, which is how we're going to build this crawler to go out and collect all of these various daily deals and to categorize them automatically. That's going to take a long time. We thought that's going to take 2-3 months. So the crawler we actually built in 2 hours is that every night around 3 in the morning, we would crawl out of bed, go to each daily deal, into our admin interface. So with that, we were able to get basically a fully functioning Yipit in sort of 3 days. So here comes the big press launch. We sent an email to 30 journalists about Yipit and how it was the future and an aggregator. You needed it. There's going to be huge fragmentation. And we were so excited. We were picturing all these people writing about us. Super excited. Of course, not one of them returned any of our emails. We were surprised. So this happened to be the same day Google Buzz was launching. So I tried to do this thing where I sent out the first Google Buzz, and it was like, first company to ever launch using Google Buzz as a PR strategy. It turned out no press actually wrote about that. However, our friends got my Google Buzz, and it turned out that our friends actually really liked Yipit, and they loved this daily deal aggregator concept, and we started signing up a bunch of people. In fact, over the next 2 weeks, we signed up as many people as we had signed up in the last 8 months. In fact, the press eventually liked what we were doing, so even though they all ignored our emails, a year later they said we were one of the most 100 great companies to have launched in the last 12 months. So, we go back, what about the crawler where you wake up every night? In fact, we actually didn't even build a crawler until maybe February of this year. So we hired a bunch of people in Texas. We pretty much own, I think there's a cul-de-sac somewhere in Texas that is known as a Yipit cul-de-sac. That's all they do is they run into a deal price. Now here's my point, is let's say it didn't work. Worst case scenario, it was 3 days of our lives. In 3 days, we fully put out an idea, we fully tested. It turned out that it's now gotten to $6 million in funding. Had it not worked, who cares? And the question I ask you is, how many of you out there have a ton of ideas that you're thinking about? Same idea maybe you've been working on for 6 months, 9 months, pontificating, wondering if it's ever going to work. We proved out an idea in 3 days. Why don't you start proving out ideas in 3 days?